Hi, this is Kim Watson. Welcome to this week's Weekly Outlook. Now, I do apologise, it's a little bit late, but I had recorded it yesterday and then left it there, and well, it just got slightly out of date in terms of one of the things, the major thing I missed out, like Thanksgiving. So I thought I'd better talk about that and re-record it. Here we go. So before I look at the technicals, just a quick run through the fundamental data and my spin of what may create some movement in the markets as it comes out, some volatility. Okay, Aussie dollar, we've already seen this monetary policy speaking, etc. So that's all done. So we're right down to this next data coming out. We've had the inflation report hearings coming out for the UK. All that's out now. So it's really coming down towards the lower tier stuff here, and it really is lower tier. I don't expect much movement from any of this. And in fact, Fed Chair Yellen, we'd normally think, well, when she's speaking, there's going to be some movement. But when you look at what she's talking about, due to participate in a panel discussion titled "In Conversation even with Mervyn King." Now that's going to be a gripper. Well worth sitting up until. No, it's not. Go to bed. Right. Let's have a look ahead at Wednesday then. Wednesday's the last of the sort of major days this week, possibly because we've got non-farms. We haven't got non-farms. We have. I almost said crop over. It's Thanksgiving in the US. Sorry. Right. Okay. So Wednesday, looking at firstly important data. Early afternoon there is the UK autumn forecast statement. Obviously, Philip Hammond has been trying to keep his job the best he could this week by being quite relatively positive on Brexit, and I say relative to what he normally is. So there's that statement coming out from him during the earlier part of the week. It'll be interesting to see his statement that comes out on Wednesday, as I say, lunchtime there. Other data then, really, what I'm looking at here, core durable goods, we get some volatility often kicking around that. At 1:30 is a possibility, that's UK time. And then really, crude oil inventories have died a death a bit at the moment. They seem to have less real volatility, although we may see a bit of volatility sitting around that. But realistically, with the glut of oil that's available out there in the world, it's unlikely to create a lot of volatility. Thereafter, we've got the FOMC meeting minutes. Now that could, again, create a bit of volatility. Most of the contents has probably been spilled by now, but all the same, we do see volatility sitting around that. So that's tomorrow evening. Following on from that, then we're then looking at Thursday, which is Japanese bank holiday. It's also, if I remember it this time, Thanksgiving for the US. So if you're celebrating that in the US, I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, and no doubt Black Friday that follows the extra day. So what we got here, we got the flash German and French manufacturing data coming out, and services. These used to give about a 20 pip move. If they're all in good order, they may still give around about a 15-20 pip move. It certainly has lightened of late. There are effects from those, but either way, any big surprises either way could give us a bit of volatility. So that's 8:30. By the time we get to 9, it's a much lower rating of data at this point, because the two powerhouses, as it's seen, have reported their data. So that's that. Thereafter, we've got at 9:30 second estimate GDP. This generally doesn't vary very much. In fact, I just clicked on this and you can see the variation over the since 2014 here. So over the last few years, and it varies very little. It generally comes in line. It doesn't necessarily create a lot of volatility, even when it does, unless it's a positive number. It may create a bit of volatility tomorrow if it's positive. In fact, even the negative number may do. Prelim, business investment, etc. Oh, okay, that's all there. Right, ECB monetary policy meeting accounts. Again, these may create a bit of volatility, but much of what's being said and done is within that, and maybe a bit more of a repeat, but we may see things we didn't see. But there we go. Or read things we didn't hear, I should say. Going into the afternoon, we've got the core retail sales from Canada. That may create a bit of volatility around the Canadian dollar, but not a lot else. Right, that's that. And then we go into Friday, Black Friday as we know it. and there's not a lot there really. So that sums up Friday. I would expect, in terms of volumes, coming into Thursday afternoon, I would expect the volumes to be dropping and running into Friday, excuse me, quite light as well, maybe through much of the day, as we really see the effect of the long weekend that's often taken this time of year. Okay, so the euro dollar, let's start looking at the technicals here, and the euro dollar is, well, it put in quite a bullish setup there on the weeklies. However, I was starting getting short of it in the end of last week. Coming down to the dailies. In fact, I'm just going to do that on this chart here. But before I do that, I am short at the moment, looking towards the weekly 21, maybe a bit more. Just want to look at the dailies on here and just show. Actually, the reason I left this on is I've left a point, a pivotal area, which that white line that's going across there. Now that cuts plenty of highs, lows. It gave support previously. It may give support again. It's really a pivotal area within that market. If it drops back below that, well, I expect what could be slightly more of a correction, which is what I'm looking for. But as I said, I'm being a bit modest in my initial exit there, at least to that weekly point. But if we can start pushing down through that level, I may expect some more towards the 34. Now, of course, as I've already said, there is a bullish signal there on the weeklies. If any rallies start coming out of this week and something solved in terms of the German elections, maybe we could see a rally come through on the euro, and it'll break the top there and trigger the bullish signal. It's not triggered at this moment though. Okay, looking at the pound. Now the pound's weathered the storm pretty well on Brexit over the last God knows how many weeks. It is sitting still in this very, very tight consolidated patch, and I'm looking at a weekly picture. In fact, I'm just going to show you the dailies on the same chart without giving you the pivots and everything else. There we go. So you can see that tight range. There's a couple of areas around about 33.20, 33.40 that are sitting in those prior highs. If we push up to that sort of level, I would expect some sort of resistance coming in there, and may even look to short into those areas. We'll see. But for now, it's struggling a little around about the daily 50. A little push up this morning. As I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it just stays within this range for a while. I said it last week, it's range bound. It's range bound, but saying that last week it did, and again this week, on yesterday, did pitch a bit out of the shorter term range, but still in the bigger range. So I think it may stay there until we hear some more bullish news. Okay, dollar yen. Let's take to the big picture here first on the weeklies, and this is another one which, to me, it looks like it could just roll over here, and with the yen strengthening over the last couple of weeks there, it's again it's put a a bearish pivot swing in this particular case here, but it's a bullish if you're a yen trader looking for the yen to come down. It's as I say, bearish signal. If we start breaking and triggering that level, well, we could see it move lower. As I say, it's quite a good signal. We've seen it back here, and the damage it can do once it's triggered. We saw the bullish version of it and the trigger it did as it went up that way. So it's quite a nice one on the weeklies there. We'll just see how it runs out. But for now, we're finding a bit of support. Hasn't quite got down to that 200, the daily 200, which, to be fair, would trigger the signal, but I'd be watching for any bounces off of that anyway, so would not be looking to try and play this more until it broke the lower side. Okay, so that's the dollar yen at the moment, caught between a rock and a hard place, I guess. Another one that's sort of a bit rangy, but it's got some potential. Aussie dollar, we saw data coming out through the Asian session here. Let's just have a look at the weeklies first. It'd be good if I press the weekly button. There we go. Weeklies first. Now, I had drawn a couple of trend lines on here, and well, it's already broken this first trend line off from the weeklies. It's still got the potential to come down lower, but of course it's sitting around that weekly 100 moving average at the moment, and well, that's at the moment given it support or showing support. I will come to the dailies here because we've got a weekly pivot above us that's still not been touched and has the potential of setting up as a target for the upside. It's nearly there now actually, but we are seeing I think on some of the shorter time frames, it's just come down there. Yep, there was some divergence across the lows there. Got the potential, as I say, to get to that weekly pivot, so don't want to come too far low on there. So that weekly pivot's certainly got the potential. Maybe it could correct itself a little bit further towards the daily 21. It's the Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar then. Let's come out to the weeklies first. And Canadian dollar is a bit of a funny old one. When you look at it from a weekly perspective, where it's taken a bounce off that weekly 21, looking like, well, it's got the potential to go up, but we're already on Tuesday and we've just got this little star of a candle, barely any movement. And you can see when you come down to the dailies here, it's just consolidating. It's last couple of days not helping things, but even the end of last week consolidated, but slightly rising. And I'm going to bring it down to the 4 hourly just to show you the higher lows, higher highs that we're seeing on this 4 hourlies at the moment. However, the more it handrails that trend line that I've drawn on that green trend line, the more likely it is to at some point possibly roll over. Now, I thought we might see a break, and I even looked at it this morning thinking, well, we may see a break and a run, and it's sort of that 200 is coming down towards price now. But there's still that potential for it to run up into that area, but with the price of oil holding reasonably well, I guess it's slowing things down to the upside. Any big sell-off of oil could see this push up quite quickly, but at the moment, as I say, very consolidated in the phase it's sitting in. Now, I will cover one other market. I'd covered it up last night. I'm going to just run through it very briefly for you now, and it's, of course, the S&Ps, because when's it going to drop? Well, no time soon, methinks. One thing to bear in mind, if you're trading this and looking for it to sell into Christmas, there is a good record of the Santa Claus rallies. This may be a different one. It may be around Christmas that we see the reaction, but either way, I wouldn't be looking to sell into that point. Now, there are, God knows how many traders. There's a lot of short positions sitting on, and probably a lot of them underwater on this S&P. And that in itself, to me, makes me wonder whether we'll see another surge up there to flush out those short positions. For now, coming down to the dailies, well, last week we managed to get through to and drop down onto the weekly pivot from where we bounced. It's a bit gappy in some of the market here on this cash price. It's still got a weekly pivot below us. It hasn't been tested. It could occur today. In fact, I should really come to the futures, I suppose, and look at the futures. Let's just switch across to the futures, so it'll give you a bit more update. Well, there you are. That's not going to happen then, is it? It's pushing. It's pushing up at the moment, the futures. So that weekly pivot's not going to be caught on that basis. Although I think it might have been caught yesterday on the futures. So there we go. It's looking positive, and as I said, I think there's always the risk of more positivity. So looking to short it, I wouldn't do it yet. I probably wouldn't do it for a long time yet. Anyway, if it corrects, if it corrects properly, we'll have plenty of time to be playing the correction. But for now, it does to me look still like could be seeing new highs soon. Right, that's it. Have a great week. Bye for now.